That's
Fire him!
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture. Howdy, Lynn. And howdy, Landon.
What's up? I'm about to cancel these two dogs hanging out in the kennel with them.
Two dogs hanging out with cantaloupes? What?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I was clicking stuff, though.
I said I'm about to cancel these two dogs hanging out in the same kennel with each other during the Bible study.
Oh. You can't do that, man. All right, so howdy, everybody. Look at that. I actually planned ahead for once. So this evening, we're going through 2 Kings chapter 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we're stopping there. And look at Alvina made it too.
What's up? What's up?
Howdy, Alvina. I can't help but notice that you came in right after we started, so you can't read. Huh. That's okay. No, we're not reading either. We're just reading along. So we got Otto today. Get your notepad and some writing utensil so you can know where your notes are made. Right? Normally I go through this beforehand, but I didn't today. So we're starting in what? Ocho? Capítulo ocho?
Otto.
All right. So let's see if I can figure this out. We're going to start here. And then that's where we're going to start. Actually, you know what? Let's pray first. Good evening, Father. Thank you very much for this wonderful study time that you've given us. And we ask for you to enlighten everybody who is going to partake in now or in the future, and also bless them. Give them understanding for your word and us as well. And we thank you for that. In Jesus Yeshua's name, amen. Okay. Where were we? 2 Kings chapter 8. So let's do the old screen share. Wait, hold on. We got to fix it. We want a full screen share. We're not doing any of this halfway done stuff here. Full screen or no screen. All right, look at that. Everybody ready?
Sure.
2 Kings 8. Then spake Elisha unto the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, Arise, and go thou in thine household, and sojourn wheresoever thou canst sojourn. For the Lord hath called for a famine, and it shall also come upon the land 7 years. And the woman arose and did after the saying of the man of God. And she went with her household, and sojourned in the land of the Philistines 7 years. It came to pass at the 7 years' end, that the woman returned out of the land of the Philistines, and she went forth to cry unto the king for her house and for her land. And the king talked with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, Tell me, I pray thee, all the great things that Elisha hath done. And it came to pass, as he was telling the king how he had restored a dead body to life, that behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life cried to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life. And when the king asked the woman, she told him. So the king appointed unto her a certain officer, saying, Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field, since the day that she left the land, even until now. And Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick. And it was told him, saying, The man of God is come hither. And the king said unto Hazael, Take a present in thine hand, and go, meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels burden, and came and stood before him, and said, Thy son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, hath sent me to thee, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? And Elisha said unto him, Go, say unto him, Thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit, the Lord hath shown me that he shall surely die. And he settled his countenance steadfastly, until he was ashamed, and the man of God wept. And Hazael said, Why weepeth my Lord? And he answered, Because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. Their strongholds wilt thou set on fire, and their young men wilt thou slay with the sword, and wilt dash their children, and rip up their women with child. And Hazael said, But what, is thy servant a dog, that he should do this great thing? And Elisha answered, The Lord hath shown me that thou shalt be king over Syria. So he departed from Elisha, and came to his master, who said to him, What said Elisha to thee? And he answered, He told me that thou shouldst surely recover. And it came to pass on the morrow that he took a thick cloth, and dipped it in water, and spread it on his face, so that he died. And Hazael reigned in his stead. In the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being then king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. 32 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as did the house of Ahab. For the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him always a light into his children. In his days Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah, and made a king over themselves. So Joram went over to Zair, and all the chariots with him. And he rose by night, and smote the Edomites which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots, and the people fled into their tents. Yet Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. And the rest of the acts of Joram, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Joram slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab king of Israel, did Ahaziah the son of Jehoram king of Judah begin to reign. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign. And he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. And he walked in the way of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the sight of the Lord, as did the house of Ahab. But he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. And he went with Joram, the son of Ahab, to the war against Hazael, king of Syria, in Ramoth-Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram. And King Joram went back to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. And Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick. Second Kings 9. And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets, and said unto him, Gird up thy loins, and take this box of oil in thine hand, and go to Ramoth-Gilead. And when thou comest thither, look out there Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, and go in, and make him arise up from among his brethren, and carry him to an inner chamber. Then take the box of oil, and pour it on his head, and say, Thus saith the Lord, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then open the door, and flee, and tarry not. So the young man, even the young man the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead. And when he came, behold, the captains of the host were sitting, and he said, I have an errand to thee, O captain. And Jehu said, Unto which of all us? And he said, To thee, O captain. And he arose and went to the house. And he poured the oil on his head, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I have anointed thee king over the people of the Lord, even over Israel. And thou shalt smite the house of Ahab thy master, that I may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of the Lord, at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah. And the dogs shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled. Then Jehu came forth to the servants of his lord, and one said unto him, Is all well? Wherefore came this mad fellow to thee? And he said unto them, Ye know the man, and his communication. And they said, It is false. Tell us now. And he said, Thus and thus spake he to me, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I have anointed thee king of Israel. Then they hasted, and took every man his garment, and put it under him on the top of the stairs, and blew with trumpets, saying, Jehu is king. So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had kept Ramoth Gilead, he and all Israel, because of Hazael, king of Syria. But King Joram was returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him, when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. And Jehu said, If it be your minds, then let none go forth nor escape out of the city to go to tell it in Jezreel. So Jehu rode in a chariot, and went to Jezreel. For Joram lay there, and Ahaziah king of Judah was come down to see Joram. And there stood a watchman on the tower in Jezreel. And he spied the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company. And Joram said, Take an horseman, and send to meet them, and let him say, Is it peace? So there went one on horseback to meet him, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu said, What hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, The messenger came to them, but he cometh not again. Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu answered, What hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, He came even unto them, and cometh not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu the son of Nimshi, for he driveth furiously. And Joram said, Make ready. And his chariot was made ready. And Joram king of Israel, and Ahaziah king of Judah went out, each in his chariot. And they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. And it came to pass, when Joram saw Jehu, that he said, Is it peace, Jehu? And he answered, What peace, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many? And Joram turned his hands and fled, and said to Ahaziah, There is treachery, O Ahaziah. And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength, and smote Jehoram between his arms, and the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then said Jehu to Bidkar his captain, Take up, and cast him in the portion of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. Remember how that when I and thou rode together after Ahab his father, the Lord laid this burden upon him. Surely I have seen yesterday the blood of Naboth and the blood of his son, saith the Lord. And I will requite thee in this plat, saith the Lord. Now therefore take and cast him into the plat of ground, according to the word of the Lord. But when Ahaziah the king of Judah saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. And Jehu followed after him, and said, Smite him also in the chariot. And they did so at the going up to Gur, which is by Ibleam. And he fled to Megiddo, and died there. And his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem, and buried him in his sepulchre with his fathers in the city of David. And in the 11th year of Joram the son of Ahab began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tired her head, and looked out at a window. And as Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, "At Zimri peace, who slew his master?" And he lifted up his face to the window and said, "Who is on my side? Who?" And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs. And he said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trode her under foot. And when he was come in, he did eat and drink, and said, "Go, see now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter." And they went to bury her. But they found no more of her than the skull, and the feet, and the palms of her hands. Wherefore they came again and told him, and he said, "This is the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel, and the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, This is Jezebel." Second Kings 10. And Ahab had 70 sons in Samaria, and Jehu wrote letters and sent to Samaria unto the rulers of Jezreel, to the elders, and to them that brought up Ahab's children, saying, Now as soon as this letter cometh to you, seeing your master's sons are with you, and there are with you chariots and horses, a fenced city also and armor, look even out the best and meetest of your master's sons, and set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house. But they were exceedingly afraid, and said, Behold, 2 kings stood not before him. How then shall we stand? And he that was over the house, and he that was over the city, the elders also, and the bringers up of the children, sent to Jehu, saying, We are thy servants, and will do all that thou shalt bid us. We will not make any king. Do thou that which is good in thine eyes. Then he wrote a letter the second time to them, saying, If ye be mine, and if ye will hearken unto my voice, take ye the heads of the men, your master's sons, and come to me to Jezreel by tomorrow this time. And the king's sons, being 70 persons, were with the great men of the city, which brought them up. And it came to pass, when the letter came to them, that they took the king's sons, and slew 70 persons, and put their heads in baskets, and sent him them to Jezreel. And there came a messenger and told him, saying, They have brought the heads of the king's sons. And he said, Lay ye them in 2 heaps at the entering in of the gate until the morning. And it came to pass in the morning that he went out and stood and said to all the people, Ye be righteous, behold, I conspired against my master and slew him. But who slew all these? Know now, that there shall fall unto the earth nothing of the word of the Lord, which the Lord spake concerning the house of Ahab. For the Lord hath done that which he spake by his servant Elijah. So Jehu slew all that remained of the house of Ahab in Jezreel, and all his great men, and his kinsfolks, and his priests, until he left him none remaining. And he rose and departed and came to Samaria, and as he was at the shearing house in the way, Jehu met with the brethren of Ahaziah king of Judah, and said, Who are ye? And they answered, We are the brethren of Ahaziah, and we go down to salute the children of the king, and the children of the queen. And he said, Take them alive. And they took them alive, and slew them at the pit of the shearing house, even 42 men, neither left he any of them. And when he was departed thence, he lighted on Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, coming to meet him. And he saluted him, and said to him, Is thine heart right, as my heart is with thy heart? And Jehonadab answered, It is. If it be, give me thine hand. And he gave him his hand. And he took him up to him into the chariot. And he said, Come with me, and see my zeal for the Lord. So they made him ride in his chariot. And when he came to Samaria, he slew all that remained unto Ahab in Samaria, till he had destroyed him, according to the saying of the Lord, which he spake to Elijah. And Jehu gathered all the people together, and said unto them, Ahab served Baal a little, but Jehu shall serve him much. Now therefore call unto me all the prophets of Baal, all his servants, and all his priests, that none be wanting. For I have a great sacrifice to do to Baal. Whosoever shall be wanting, he shall not live. But Jehu did it in subtlety, to the intent that he might destroy the worshippers of Baal. And Jehu said, Proclaim a solemn assembly for Baal. And they proclaimed it. And Jehu sent through all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that came not. And they came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was full from one end to another. And he said unto him that was over the vestry, Bring forth vestments for all the worshippers of Baal. And he brought them forth vestments. And Jehu went, and Jehonadab the son of Rechab, into the house of Baal, and said unto the worshippers of Baal, Search, and look that there be here with you none of the servants of the Lord, but the worshippers of Baal only. And when they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings, Jehu appointed 80 men without, and said, If any of the men whom I have brought into your hands escape, he that letteth him go, his life shall be for the life of him. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, that Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, Go in, and slay them, let none come forth. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and the guard and the captains cast them out, and went to the city of the house of Baal. And they brought forth the images out of the house of Baal, and burned them. And they brake down the image of Baal, and brake down the house of Baal, and made it a draught house unto this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel. Howbeit, from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, Jehu departed not from after them, to wit, the golden calves that were in Bethel, and that were in Dan. And the Lord said unto Jehu, Because thou hast done well in executing that which is right in mine eyes, and hast done unto the house of Ahab according to all that was in mine heart, thy children of the 4th generation shall sit on the throne of Israel. But Jehu took no heed to walk in the law of the Lord God of Israel with all his heart, for he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, which made Israel to sin. In those days the Lord began to cut Israel short, and Hazael smote them in all the coasts of Israel, from Jordan eastward, all the land of Gilead, the Gadites, and the Reubenites, and the Manassites, from Aroer, which is by the river Arnon, even Gilead and Bashan. Now the rest of the acts of Jehu, and all that he did, and all his might, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Israel? And Jehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Jehoahaz, his son, reigned in his stead. And the time that Jehu reigned over Israel in Samaria was 28 years. Second Kings 11. And when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. Then Jehoshaphat, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons which were slain. And they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. And he was with her hid in the house of the Lord 6 years. And Athaliah did reign over the land. And the 7th year Jehoiada sent and fetched the rulers over hundreds, with the captains and the guard, and brought them to him into the house of the Lord, and made a covenant with them, and took an oath of them in the house of the Lord, and showed them the king's son. And he commanded them, saying, This is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you that enter in on the Sabbath shall even be keepers of the watch of the king's house. And a third part shall be at the gate of Sur, and a third part at the gate behind the guard. So shall ye keep the watch of the house, that it be not broken down. And 2 parts of all you that go forth on the Sabbath, even they shall keep the watch of the house of the Lord about the king. And ye shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand. And he that cometh within the ranges, let him be slain. And be ye with the king, as he goeth out, and as he cometh in. And the captains over the hundreds did according to all things that Jehoiada the priest commanded. And they took every man his men, that were to come in on the Sabbath with them that should go out on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. And to the captains over hundreds did the priest give King David's spears and shields that were in the temple of the Lord. And the guard stood, every man with his weapons in his hand, round about the king, from the right corner of the temple to the left corner of the temple, along by the altar and the temple. And he brought forth the king's son, and put the crown upon him, and gave him the testimony, and they made him king, and anointed him. And they clapped their hands, and said, God save the king. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people into the temple of the Lord. And when she looked, behold, the king stood by a pillar, as the manner was. And the princes and the trumpeters by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and blew with trumpets. And Athaliah rent her clothes, and cried, Treason! Treason! But Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of the hundreds, the officers of the host, and said unto them, Have her forth without the ranges, and him that followeth her kill with the sword. For the priest had said, Let her not be slain in the house of the Lord. And they laid hands on her, and she went by the way by the which the horses came into the king's house, and there was she slain. And Jehoiada made a covenant between the Lord and the king and the people, that they should be the Lord's people, between the king also and the people. And all the people of the land went into the house of Baal, and brake it down. His altars and his images brake they in pieces thoroughly, and slew Mattan the priest of Baal before the altars, and the priest appointed officers over the house of the Lord. And he took the rulers over hundreds, and the captains, and the guard, and all the people of the land. And they brought down the king from the house of the Lord, and came by the way of the gate of the guard to the king's house. And he sat on the throne of the kings. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was in quiet. And they slew Athaliah with the sword beside the king's house. 7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign. Second Kings 12. In the 7th year of Jehu, Jehoash began to reign, and 40 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. And Jehoash did that which was right in the sight of the Lord all his days, wherein Jehoiada the priest instructed him. But the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed, and burnt incense in the high places. And Jehoash said to the priests, All the money of the dedicated things that is brought into the house of the Lord, even the money of every one that passeth the account, the money that every man is set at, and all the money that cometh into any man's heart to bring into the house of the Lord, let the priest take it to them, every man of his acquaintance, and let them repair the breaches of the house, wheresoever any breach shall be found. But it was so that in the 23rd year of King Jehoash, the priests had not repaired the breaches of the house. Then King Jehoash called for Jehoiada the priest and the other priests, and said unto them, Why repair ye not the breaches of the house? Now therefore receive no more money of your acquaintance, but deliver it for the breaches of the house. And the priests consented to receive no more money of the people, neither to repair the breaches of the house. But Jehoiada the priest took a chest, and bored a hole in the lid of it, and set it beside the altar, on the right side as one cometh into the house of the Lord. And the priest that kept the door put therein all the money that was brought into the house of the Lord. And it was so, when they saw that there was much money in the chest, that the king's scribe and the high priest came up, and they put up in bags, and told the money that was found in the house of the Lord. And they gave the money, being told, into the hands of them that did the work, that had the oversight of the house of the Lord. And they laid it out to the carpenters and builders that wrought upon the house of the Lord, and to masons and hewers of stone, and to buy timber and hewed stone to repair the breaches of the house of the Lord, and for all that was laid out for the house to repair it. Howbeit, there were not made for the house of the Lord bowls of silver, snuffers, basins, trumpets, any vessels of gold, or vessels of silver, of the money that was brought into the house of the Lord. But they gave that to the workmen, and repaired therewith the house of the Lord. Moreover, they reckoned not with the men, into whose hand they delivered the money to be bestowed on workmen, for they dealt faithfully. The trespass money and the sin money was not brought into the house of the Lord. It was the priests. Then Hazael, king of Syria, went up, and fought against Gath, and took it. And Hazael set his face to go up to Jerusalem. And Jehoash, king of Judah, took all the hallowed things that Jehoshaphat, and Jehoram, and Ahaziah his fathers, kings of Judah, had dedicated, and his own hallowed things, and all the gold that was found in the treasures of the house of the Lord, and in the king's house, and sent it to Hazael, king of Syria. And he went away from Jerusalem. And the rest of the acts of Joash, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? And his servants arose, and made a conspiracy, and slew Joash in the house of Millo, which goeth down to Silla. For Josachar the son of Shemaeth, and Jehozabad the son of Shomer, his servants, smote him, and he died. And they buried him with his fathers in the city of David. And Amaziah his son reigned in his stead.
Okay.
Pretty
Yeah.
bloody.
That's right. Wow.
Pretty bloody.
And that, let's see. Howdy, Ren. Howdy, Margaret. Anybody else come in? Not that I see. All right. So let's scoot down to back to chapter 8. And let's see. Okay, we got a lot in this. That. Okay, I was a little confused at the beginning of this, talking about Gehazi, because I had kind of assumed that when he was stricken with leprosy, that he wouldn't be Elisha's servant anymore.
I don't know. Maybe he kept the title. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right, Rand. That's a lot of smiting and smooting. It's smooted. Okay. Anyways, so that he makes his appearance in verse 4 there, Gehazi.
Do you really want the leper preparing your lunch?
Well, he was telling this woman, and it doesn't name her, right? She's still not named. But she comes back, right? Her son was resurrected. She's gone for 7 years. That's pretty interesting. Right?
It's a long walk.
Actually, you know, now that you mention it, there's a thing that Shinto priests do in Japan where they run all around, like literally run for 7 years. I think it's on the island of Honshu. But every day they get up and run. And they end up making, I forget how many journeys around the island. I think that's what it is. Maybe it's they run for 7 years. Or maybe they make 7 trips around the island. I don't know. Anyways. Okay. So
So the lady was. No,
well, you got Ben Hadad. He's told you're going to die. You're not recovering from this disease. And he tells, all right, Elisha tells Hazael, you're going to be king of Syria. Right?
Yeah.
Then he goes back and lies about it. He says you're going to recover. It's all good.
Yeah. And then we have the
Right?
first waterboard.
That was an interesting one.
What was that? Right. Took a bedcloth and dipped it in water and spread it. Right. Yeah. That's,
it's weird because we don't see much of him after this for a little while.
right. He just kind of disappeared. I didn't. I had to look back over that for a second because.
Now, Judah's messing up also. And in verse 20, Edom revolts. So they're no longer under the control of Judah. And then down in 22, it says Libnah revolted at the same time. So remember, David built this massive kingdom, and then Solomon expanded on that. And then now we're seeing it slowly chipped away and getting smaller and smaller.
Interesting. World history only focuses on what the Romans
right
did.
Or Greece.
Nothing new under the sun. Kind of repeating after. It seems the business model was I don't know. I think it was written before them.
Right. So that I don't have anything else for chapter 8. If you got anything that you noticed. No?
I'm drawing a blank. I had something I was thinking about when we were first reading it, but I didn't write it down.
That's why we use pens.
I know.
And paper. Okay. I have a king under my mouth. Okay. Anyways. Anybody else? Who else is popping in here? Okay. So in chapter 9, verse 11, we got Jehu. Jehu becomes king of Israel. And he's anointed by this son of the prophet, who's apparently another prophet. Yeah. And Elisha tells him, go in there, pour this box of oil on his head, tell him what I'm telling you to say, and then run.
Right.
Run as fast as you can. So why do you think that is?
I was wondering that. That's what I was thinking of. Besides you bringing up the running Japanese priest.
Right.
I'm kidding. Because it could either be like if you linger, if you give somebody a word and you linger, it adds to the doubt it adds to the from the viewer's perspective or the others around him, going, well, who is he? Who is this person? Look at that. He's got a mustard stain on his shirt. He walks kind of funny, like you know, and so that adds to the doubt. Or there would have been some sort of danger, and with him giving the word and the belief in that, but him actually being in danger.
Right.
That's the two things I was thinking. I don't maybe.
Right, because these other lords or chiefs around, I think they're all faithfully serving Jezebel still.
Mm. Hmm. Jezzy. And she likes to stir the pot for sure.
She's a troublemaker.
Mm.
And now, what's the significance in 13 of every man took his garment and put it under him on the top of the stairs? Is that showing submission to Jehu?
I don't know. What is that? Does that mean like walking over you take your shirt off and then step over it, or?
I don't know. Anybody know? Okay, so then in where are we at? Still in 9, 22. Right? You hear all these people say, that's the spirit of Jezebel, that's the spirit of Jezebel. We're told right here, this is what it is. Right? There's no peace. You have no peace so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many. Right? And what people teach is that the spirit of Jezebel is, you're rebelling against your church. No, it isn't. It's the church taking up witchcraft and whoredoms, meaning other idols, or the customs of other idols.
Mm-hmm. Like bringing a magic stick in the congregation and everybody praying to it.
Right? No. No.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I don't let her name her that.
Okay, so the word for his garment is Strong's Hebrew 899,
Okay.
big dough, and it is defined as treachery, deceit, or a garment of clothing used indiscriminately.
Well, that's quite a variance there.
Right?
It really is.
Mm.
I don't know.
Like, could you run and grab my backstabbery? I mean, it's yeah. Garment of clothing used indiscriminately, or treachery or deceit. Yeah, it either means treachery or deceit, or garment clothing used indiscriminately.
In verse 27, he fled to Megiddo and died there. Megiddo is a town. That's where we also get the word Armageddon, meaning, depending on who you talk to, the hill of Megiddo or the valley of Megiddo. But it's interesting because I believe it was Steve Mutria just did a study on this that contained that, talking about that there is, that Armageddon is sometimes translated differently. And to mean, instead of the hill or the valley of Megiddo, to mean, if it's this other word, the mountain of God, which is pretty interesting. And he believes that it could mean that at the end times, the dragon's going to gather all the the nations of the world to attack the mountain of God.
They seem pretty interested in science and portals and
Right? Well, it's a good thing they have that binocular Lucifer telescope.
Hmm.
So the Pope can see what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Okay, anyways. And then the next one I took, I don't know what it is. Verse 37, I just put yuck. Oh,
yeah, she was.
Jezebel is dog poop now.
That's yeah.
She got ate up by the dogs and then went. They pooped her out somewhere.
I wonder why the eunuchs were so willing to just yep, toss her out the window upon the command.
She's a pretty treacherous woman. I can't imagine what it's like working for her after you've already had your eunuchism.
Right.
For those of you who are unaware, a eunuch is a human male that's castrated.
Yeah.
Good news, you're going to be guarding the king's wives. Bad news, come here.
Right. And that, leave that alone.
We're still on 9? Okay, let's go to 10.
Yeah.
Capitulo Diaz. Yes, I think that's what it was, Margaret. They had grown to loathe. Kind of like people loathing their church. Just saying. Okay. Chapter 10. Now, what's the significance of this? Ahab had 70 sons, and they all get slain in verse 7.
Right.
Just interesting, because Israel was initially supposed to be a nation of priests serving the 70 nations. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it's speculation, but maybe it was that sense of pride that it's a lot of work to raise 70 boys, and thinking that you've got the plan. And I know that it doesn't say that. I mean, I'm just thinking of the possibility of I've got this worked out. This is it's the way I'm supposed to do it because of the symbology of the 70, and it's all taken away.
Well, I think once you raise, I don't know, I would think once you raise 3 or 4 boys, you're just like, bah. At that point, you're just like, it's like herding cats, man.
Hmm, 54th in line, don't you speak to me that way.
Right? So Jehu goes on a mission here, man. He tears it up. He's killing everybody, destroying priests, destroying idols. And in verse 27, after he kills all these people, says they break down the image of Baal and break down the house of Baal and made it a draft house unto this day. No, that's not beer. Right? Same thing that Yeshua was talking about. It's not what you eat, go into the stomach, and then it's passed out in the draft. This is an outhouse. Now, they just found this. They just found one of these places that supports this. And they know that it was an altar to Baal. and they had cut a hole in the roof, buried it, cut a hole in the roof, and made it a porta potty.
A latrine. A latrine. A latrine. Hey, to Miss Margaret's comment, what do you think about that? The
Did she
70.
had maybe 70 children?
Yeah.
That's quite a bit.
Right.
There'd have to be a whole bunch of twins and triplets in there. I think. What is the world record for a woman giving birth? Isn't it something like 48 that we know of in modern history?
Yeah, it's something pretty wild.
Yeah, that's a bunch of twins, a couple of sets of triplets too.
There's a reason the Nazis were interested in twins specifically, you know. And so, I mean, it's possible. Possible. Possible too, Lynn.
Yep. Possibly. It's what normal. Having 70 children?
Having 35 sets of twins.
Look how worn out a dog is when they've had like 6, 7 litters.
Right, but they have 6 at a time usually.
Often. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Let's see here. In verse 30, Jehu is told, "Well done, and you're gonna have the throne to the 4th generation."
Woohoo!
But then the very next verse, man. He took no heed to walk in the law of the Lord God of Israel with all his heart, for he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, which made Israel to sin. Right? So he left up in verse 29, the golden calves. Didn't touch them.
Didn't want to crash the stock market.
Right?
I mean, I'm saying that like a joke, but there must have been for that thing that you willfully accept, knowing that it's wrong, but you like it. I mean, we're all guilty of it, at different times and struggling with the flesh. But
Yes.
I know it wasn't a stock market, but I'm just saying, I'm using that as the modern example of like, I don't want to mess with that because that doesn't bother me that much. I'm reaping something from, or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
With these altars of Baal, no. And I mean, I'm just.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't that the same thing we see in denominationalism?
Right.
Oh, that sin is disgusting and horrible. I'm going to sit back and enjoy my sin, though.
Right. We don't dance at weddings.
Boy, that's got to be boring.
Look at him over there tapping his feet.
Is there people really that don't dance at weddings?
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember which. I think there's a certain sect of baptism. I could have that wrong.
Baptist? I believe that. Yeah,
Right.
there's all sorts of different Baptist denominations. True story. This coworker that I worked with passed away. I was at my other friend's house. He's like, "We should go to the funeral. It's today." And I said, "Where is it?" He said, "At the Baptist church." Right? The metro area here is like close to 1 million at that time. I said, "Which
Small.
Baptist church?" He goes, "The Baptist church." "Which one?" So he grabs the phone book. That's how long ago it was. Looks it up. He goes, "Man, there's a lot of Baptist churches in Tucson." Well, yes, there was. All right. Anyways.
I'm sorry, reading the comment. Lynn don't boogie woogie.
Lynn don't dance. Charlie don't surf. Okay. verse or chapter 11. I guess I better change it, huh? I didn't get any notes for this. I was just like going through and
Hang on, stood with King's sons. Well, it's interesting having a child for that long.
right. And they set him up as king when he was what, 7?
Mm-hmm. That's quite the feat. Feeding, keeping silent, bathing, clothes, all that. It's quite the
Right.
you know.
7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign. Now, yeah, we hear about that type of stuff, man. You know, at least in fairly recent European history, and it's always they set up a king as a child, and then manipulators say this is what you need to do. That's what you need to do.
Interesting. They're using institutions that way now.
Yes, they are.
But legalese in the corporate world, a corporation is a person, according to, and I'm not saying that, I don't believe that, but according to the way it's looked at legally, corporation is a person.
And it's such a lie. They don't look at it as they don't look at it that way. Because when you have something like let's say the Union Carbide accident in India that killed as many as 8,000 people and deformed like another 8,000 people. What would you do if there was one human that did that? One person that did that? What would they do to that person? They'd be executed or put in prison for the rest of their life. Right? That they're not going to do that to a corporation.
Right. No, but they use it like the board members, and I've read some things into the way that you have protection if you're a part of a board, that you're not solely responsible.
Yep.
But it's, I mean, like Bear Aspirin had AIDS and the virus in a medicine for hemophiliacs. They infected thousands of children, and then when people found out about it, they were like, "Well, we'll just sell it to France," and nobody didn't even go after no one, or not even. I mean, they're still Bear.
Yep. And trivia. Did you know that the word heroin is Bayer's trademark for morphine?
Heroin?
Yep.
Basically what it is.
Right. But somebody just started calling the illegal one, the street one, heroin. And then Bear's like, I guess we can't use that anymore.
What came first, the chicken or the egg? That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, chapter 12. Chapter 12.
Oh, that's a pretty harsh way to go.
What happened here?
To Mrs. Athalia.
Oh, back in 11?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Traitors! Traitors off of their head.
But let the horses do it. That's
Jezebel, isn't it?
No, Jezebel was pushed out of a window and the dogs had her.
Well, the horses.
Athalia.
Where is it? What verse is that?
15. Bring her out between the ranks and put to death with the sword anyone who follows her. For the priest said, "Let her not be put to death in the house of the Lord." 16. Yeah. So they laid hands on her. She went through the horses' entrance to the king's house, and there she was put to death.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it said drawn quarter somewhere, or it didn't say drawn quarter, but it.
Yeah, no, that was Jezebel. That was in chapter 10. Chapter 10. Let's see. Fred Harding. Let's see here. Oh, maybe it was chapter 9. Oh, yeah, good. It's in 9. Jehu, Watchman. Let's see here. Verse 32. Who was on my side? And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs, and he said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down, Jezebel. And some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall. She went splat. Yeah. And then the horses go clump, 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 clumpity, clump, clump, clump. Clumpity, clump, 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 clumpity, stomp.
Yeah, I was just maybe imagining the way that it was the version that you had reading. I thought, and I was picturing somebody being put to death that way, I guess. Kind of horrified as we were reading it.
Right. 12:7. You got the priests hoarding money that's supposed to be to repair the temple. What's wrong?
Had to get that jet.
Right? Rabbi Cariflo. Rabbi Cariflo. Where did you get that thoroughbred chariot? Okay. Enough of that. Let's see. I thought it interesting. They don't have any of the utensils. It's all, remember, all that stuff was pillaged by kings from before, foreign kings that came in and pillaged the house of the Lord, the temple.
Yeah.
No, I don't got anything else. Note-wise. Anybody else? Steel mare. Do explain, Margaret. What is that? The steel mare method of execution?
I believe that's just a mechanical, but I could be wrong because I don't know.
It's when they put you between.
Is that the crank thing?
Put you between 2 of them quarter run ponies out in front of Walmart where you drop in a quarter. They go. No, I don't know. What's a steel mare?
A razor slide.
Nah, I'll look it up.
It is. It's nice that they paid them. I'll just say that it's nice that they were like, you know what? Yeah, they honored what the king told them, and they paid the men.
What in the world? Okay, all that is a. Let's see. It's a scene from that Vikings. Oh no! Tell you what, they took their execution serious back then.
Better not do anything wrong.
Yeah, I can't show this on a Bible study.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's horrifying.
Did you look at? Did you find it?
I did immediately. I mean, he said Viking, and that was by the time I clicked off of the horses and went, "Oh my goodness!" Anyway,
Oh boy. No, because I found an animation where they're executing a naked woman. So no, I'm not
Oh.
sure.
you're searching.
Basically, it's a giant knife, and the person gets to ride down it like a slide. It's at an angle, like a slide at the city park.
Yeah.
Except it's a blade. Ride 'em, cowboy. No. Anyways, okay. Nobody has anything else. I'm going to let everybody go.
All right, sweet dreams.
But keep landing for hours and hours and hours. All right. So, everybody, thank you for coming. I'm glad you made it. And I think, I'm not positive, we should have something this week. If not, we'll see you for the reading this coming end of the week. If you want to read with us, let me know. Put it down in the comments below. And we'll fix it up so you can read. You need either Chrome as a browser. You need either Chrome or Firefox and a good internet connection. If you want to read with us, that'd be awesome.
Or your phone.
Yeah. A good time. Or what?
Or your phone. It does work on your phone.
Right? I don't know.
I know. Well, I'm letting, but maybe somebody wants to read and they're like, well, I don't have either one.
Right?
I'm using my phone. I'm on my phone. You can use your phone.
So, like, share, and subscribe. Right? Where's Matt when you need him?
Right.
He's all like, share, subscribe, dude.
No, he's making spiders.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Baby tarantula time. All right. Everybody, love you. We will talk to you soon. Thank you, Landon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.